Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Super Subs Podcast. Your host, Harish and Narvin. Today, we will go through the Champions League quarterfinals, first leg games. We'll cover those. We will go through some of the Premier League games, some of the highlights from this weekend. Talk about a few other games across the leagues. There weren't too many exciting ones, so it should be pretty short. And then we'll give our predictions for the second leg this coming Tuesday and Wednesday. Um, but before we jump in, Narv, you know the drill. Who's your super sub for this week?
So my super sub will be from Tuesday's Champions League matchup between Bayern Munich versus Inter Milan. Um, I won't give too much spoilers because we'll touch on the game, but from that game, I'll say it was Fratesi who scored the winner quite late in the game to give Inter the win away from home. And just what makes it more special was he found out his grandma had passed away, who he's really close with, literally the night before the game.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and so his family were like, "Are you like in the right headspace, like to play and stuff?" But like ultimately, he said he's gonna play, just because he knew like his grandma loved watching him play. So a lot in his like that's a lot to handle, but
hmm
going through that, still coming out in a big matchup to get the winner. Definitely the super sub for me.
That's funny because when I was watching that game, I was so confused on why he like took off his shirt, and I was like, dude, he's celebrating like they won the Champions League or like
Hmm.
he's won a world. That makes a lot more sense though. I didn't realize he had all that going on.
Yeah, it's a lot to deal with.
My super sub for this week is going to be from the Premier League. Uh, One of the games that we'll touch on is the Nottingham Everton game, but Dwight McNeil coming back from injury, coming on in the 90th minute. He created a couple chances, but he ultimately got the assist that led to that was the ultimate winner for Everton. They've definitely missed his presence. I know they've still their form has stuck in like while he's been out with injury, but the way they look with him and without him is kind of night and day. So they're definitely safe from relegation, and they're even competing for like the top half of that table. I don't think they'll finish top 10, but still, it's impressive considering that they were in relegation battle before
Hmm.
Moyes had joined. But yeah, shout out to Dwight McNeil. So now let's move on to we'll talk about the Champions League games. So there were some bangers, but I think we have to start with the biggest talking point on Tuesday. I think
Yeah.
Arsenal, Real Madrid, and honestly, this was just total domination by Arsenal. Real Madrid just did not look in it,
It's an
and
underwhelming first leg matchup. Um,
very, um, and Arsenal ended up winning 3-0, grabbing the headlines for the not even just this game, but the entire week was Declan Rice's free kicks, his two incredible free kicks. It- Sky Sports was doing a little too much, though. Even this weekend, like when he was warming up with free kicks, like he was skying them, but like they were still like talking about his technique and stuff.
uh,
But still, incredible free kicks, and
but we've touched on his set pieces before. Like his corners, like
mhm.
they're always so like deadly and spot on. Like he should be in the box ultimately because he has a big physical presence, but like his deliveries are so good um, as well.
And it's funny that a lot of people from the game were talking about, oh, look at the Arsenal set piece coach, because he was like saying they thought he was saying curl it in,
Hmm.
and they they didn't think about like he was actually saying Declan Rice was saying after the game too, like he was actually telling Rice to cross it, whereas Saka was like, well, if you feel like you can hit it, then go for it. So it wasn't really like
Gotcha.
the set piece coach.
I hate how they always, that's that piece coach annoys me, man. I think I've said that so many times. He's got him and Jason Tyndall main character syndromes.
Yeah, from this game, I'd like to hear just maybe a couple players that you felt stood out to you, that were solid performances, and not including Rice because I think that was kind of a
hmm
given.
I will say, um, even though they were on the losing end, one I think probably a huge player for Real Madrid was Courtois because I
Hmm.
think he saved them from further embarrassment. Um, Free kicks, like you couldn't do anything about it. Uh, Even that third goal, to be fair, that was a striker's finish by Moreno, but Courtois, I thought he had an amazing game. Um, which is odd.
Hmm.
You don't say that typically when you lose 3-0, but like he was going crazy, made like triple save, double saves. So he prevented something that could have been much worse. But then also
Hmm.
the goals that led to the free kicks, I thought they were poor. Fouls on
Hmm.
Saka, like he wasn't really going anywhere. So just lack of discipline, which we also saw today with Mbappe getting the red in the La Liga game. Just no discipline there.
Uh, I was shook by his tackle today, against Alaves. Like, I know that should have been a straight red. I don't know how the ref had to go to VAR for that.
Yeah, that tackle was like he was out there for like vengeance or something. That was
Yeah,
crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised if La Liga takes a deeper look into that and gives him a 5 match ban versus a 3 match ban.
I think it might. It's gonna be one of those corruptions though, because the third match in like domestic game would be the Copa del Rey final versus Barca. So I don't know if they would suspend him to 3 game.
Mm,
Um,
I guess for viewership, like they'd want him against Barca, but
yeah.
this that was just like a potential career-ending tackle.
hmm
But yeah, I like that shout out with Mourinho's goal too. Like that was very well taken. But a player that stood out for me on Arsenal side that uh, a lot of players for Arsenal were really good, but I mean, we know how good Rodrigo is, and the beginning of the year, if you told me Lewis Skelly would be starting in a Champions League game against Real Madrid, I would think were crazy because he was like barely even talked about like being on the first team to start off with, but now he's like an integral part of the team, and he absolutely shut down Rodrigo. Even that goal assist to Mourinho, like it's crazy how strong he is for such a young age. He just kind of like nutmeg bodied, shrugged off tackles, and Timber on the other side too, just shut down Vinny. Vinny also had a poor game, but still Timber shut him down. I mean, it's pretty sad when the best Brazilian on the field is Martinelli.
Yeah, that is sad. Yeah, Vinny had no impact whatsoever. Um, it's funny though, Lewis Skelly, like for being so young, he's got a lot of strength to him, and he's kind of got a similar build to Timber, which is quite funny too.
Hmm. And I think Saka also deserves some credit today, or from this game, just because he was absolutely cooking Alaba. And to your point, Courtois made a lot of good saves that if he didn't have a good game, it could have been maybe 6-0. But Saka as well created chances, some crosses with proper striker for Arsenal. I think they would have had easy tap-ins.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Havertz, he's out for the year, I think, right? Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
so I was a little surprised Trossard didn't get the start. Um, I thought he was going to be the shoe-in instead of Moreno, but I think I think partly Moreno just started just because Real Madrid are quite vulnerable on set pieces. So he kind of adds that threat.
And then were there any other players that kind of stuck out to you this game, either poor performance or good?
No, but I will say 3-0 first leg. I mean, it's going to be hard for Madrid to come back from. But we have seen crazier things happen before. But I think one player Madrid would have really liked in this game that they were unlucky with because of injury. But I think he played today, so he could be playing Tuesday. But it's still a big hole to come out of was Danny Ceballos. I think he could have had a
Hmm.
bit of an impact in this type of game because I don't know, Modric, I don't think this is the type of game that really suits him.
Yeah. There was another midfielder that I thought you were going to talk about that I think Real Madrid were really missing. I think
Chouameni.
Chouameni has to start against this Arsenal team, and you could see how Party and Rice's athleticism really hurt Madrid. Like it was pretty sad to see Bellingham just running all around by himself, whereas he got no help from Modric.
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny because like Odegaard didn't really have. I think he was the least influential team on Arsenal. So yeah, uh, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about Chouameni missing from this side this game.
He should be back because I think it was suspension
hmm
for the reason. Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry. One more thing I wanted to touch on was David Alaba. Man, he should not be playing left back at this point of his career. Like, I know a lot of Real Madrid fans kind of shit on Fran Garcia, but I don't think he's that bad of a player. And I think he has more of the physicality and speed compared to Alaba. Like Saka was cooking
hmm
Alaba, so
yeah. Alaba should just be playing center back now. Like he's
hmm
lost all his athleticism.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess this might. I think I was just trying to think back to some iconic Arsenal games. I think this is the best. We may have witnessed the greatest game at the Emirates of all time. Would you agree?
Trying to think back. Probably.
Because I mean, they dethroned the champions of the world in
hmm
Madrid and the way they did it too, and then apparently like the atmosphere, like you could hear it through the TV, but like the
hmm
way the players were talking about it and like Arteta was saying even like 15 minutes before the game, like the stadium was like bumping.
Wow. Yeah, I'm interested to see how the second leg goes. I think it's too big of a deficit, but we've seen some like freakish things happen before at the Bernabeu. So,
I think that first 20 minutes of the second leg is going to be crucial because if Madrid can get a goal,
yeah, then it's
I
game
think,
on.
yeah, it's game on. But I think it's over. I think Arsenal will probably grab a goal or two from counters in the second leg.
I think Madrid will have a lot of chances in the second leg for sure, though, because Arsenal's going to be sitting back deep, just trying to protect the lead.
But yeah, interesting stat though, Arsenal. They haven't conceded more than 2 goals in any competition this game or in this season. And I think
In
under
the Champions
Arteta,
League
no,
or
in
overall?
across, yeah,
Oh, wow.
across all competitions. So, what's your final prediction? Who moves on, Arsenal or Madrid?
I think Arsenal, but I think it might be close.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm seeing it. I think it will be an exciting second leg. All right, moving on to let's touch on that second game from that day.
This is
Uh,
my team right here.
Bayern versus your team that you think will win it all, Inter Milan.
hmm
I'll start with this one. I know Declan grabbed the headlines for his free kicks and deservingly. I mean, they were incredible, but I mean, we have to give a round of applause for Lautaro Martinez and that finish. And I mean Tarum too, like that
The whole
flick,
play was wild.
insane. But like, I don't think people understand how difficult like that finish was outside the foot.
Yeah, and generated a lot of power off of it too, which is crazy. But that assist was beautiful too. The back heel
Yeah,
on off the air.
and Martinez gets a lot of stick for like not showing up, I guess, in the big games, but I mean, he made his statement today
Hmm.
or in this game.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, Harry Kane, that off the post though, that could have changed the game a bit. Um, that's a usual give me for his standards, but
Oh yeah. I
um,
will say I think Bayern were unlucky not to
mhm.
come away with the win, but because I do think ultimately they were the better team
Yeah, I think they had the better chances. Uh,
in that
yeah, but
game.
if
I
you
think they
just
create a
don't
lot
put
more
away your
chances.
chances versus Inter, yeah, you're done for.
What's your thought or how do you feel about Inter going into? Do you still believe that Inter can win it all?
Yeah, I think so. I think one player I want to give a huge shout out to also was Bastoni. I think
Mm.
he's top, probably top three in the world, center back. I think he ended up getting like man of the match, but the
He did, yep.
performance he put in is crazy. Had a lot of crucial blocks, a lot of tackles. Position he picks up too going forward. Like he can drive with the ball. Long balls are crazy. So I think back to front, like Inter are just so well balanced. They got. I know we talk about Pedri making Barca kind of dictate. I think Inter they got their own like that style of player in Barella, and then up top, yeah, Martinez and Thuram. They complement each other so well. So I think overall they have a really balanced squad. Um, and I think Inzaghi himself is just a really good manager. So
Hmm. Yeah, I like the point that you made that they're balanced because they're not the strongest in terms of attacking
hmm.
prowess. I mean, you've got PSG, Barca, and then they're not the strongest necessarily defending. They are a very good defensive team, but I think if you look at the teams in the competition still, you'd give that edge to Arsenal probably.
Hmm.
But like to your point, Inter are just so well balanced.
Hmm. I will say one player who had a really good game for Bayern, who I think he fell off a little bit was Leroy Sané. I thought he had a lot of glimpses in this game,
Hmm.
where he was kind of threatening Inter's back line. So I think Inter may make a few tweaks come that second leg.
Yeah, and I think we have to give a shout out to the keeper again, Jan Sommer, just for making some huge stops on Ulisse and Musiala's replacement to that Guerrero guy.
Hmm.
He had a few chances, but Sommer made some great saves. Um, and I mean, Bayern really blew it in that first half with some huge opportunities. You mentioned the Kane
Yeah.
shot, but I mean, my prediction for the second leg is I think Bayern is going to ultimately move on. Um, I know that might be surprising, but I don't know. They looked much better in my eyes.
Hmm.
I know Inter ultimately got the win, but players were pretty disappointed for Bayern, and but they feel confident that they were kind of going into this one as underdogs, but they came out feeling like they should have actually won.
Uh-huh.
Company also was very optimistic, so I think if they can replicate what they did th in this first leg, I think they're going to move on.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the tougher ties of the quarterfinals, though, for sure.
And then quick shout out to Thomas Mueller as well. He could have been a potential super sub, but he made his 24th appearance in the quarterfinals in the Champions League, and that is now tied with his teammate Neuer and Leon Messi for the most in the Champions
Jeez.
League.
S- Doing him dirty, though, not giving him an extension. Gotta let him retire as a Bayern legend.
Yeah. And I mean, even over the weekend against Dortmund, he ultimately led to that first goal,
Hmm.
assisted Serge Gnabry.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've touched on him before. One of those like when you just see him, he doesn't really have any of the tools to be like one of the top players, but his IQ is like just off the charts.
Yeah. So I guess before we move on, are you kind of sticking with Inter? You think that we'll get past Bayern?
Yeah, I'm gonna back him. 'Cause this game, I was a little worried just because they didn't have their wing backs who they
Hmm.
rely heavily on the wing back play, but I think Dumfries should be back. And DeMarcus should be playing. So I think with them too, it'll give them a little more comfort as well.
Yeah, that's a good point because they're so heavy reliant on their
Hmm.
wingbacks.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that left winger, or what's his name? He looks like DeMarco at times from afar.
Gusto.
Gusto, yeah, got the assist, but
Hmm.
let's move on to the PSG Villa game. So now it's back to the team that I thought would win it all. PSG, they went down 1-0 pretty early, but they were absolutely dominant throughout this entire game, even before the goal. Villa, that was a great counter. McGinn to Rashford, Rashford to forget who he played
He's
it
a
down the
little
line.
as amazing he's been though, a little bit of a miss concentration by Mendes.
Yeah,
A little dilly-dally on the ball and just picked off super easy, but
he definitely made up for it with the third goal in
hmm
stoppage time.
yeah.
Yeah, Mendes has been incredible this Champions League, shutting down Mo Salah too, but that was the one mistake that you're like, uh-oh,
Hmm.
can it bite them?
Yeah, this was I thought it was one-sided and I thought Villa, I don't know what you thought, but I thought Villa escaped from this was another one where I think PSG could have won by a lot more if Emi Martinez wasn't on his game, like at his best.
Hmm. Yeah, Emi Martinez, in the first 25 minutes of the game, he had more touches of the ball than any of his teammates.
That's saying something.
Oh yeah. PSG was just on them. And I mean Due too, we've talked about him on this podcast, where beginning of the season we are like, this kid, he's kind of something special, and then like we started like talking about him more, but like now he's kind of really announced himself the past few months, I feel like.
Hmm.
Um, but that goal was we've
They're
had crazy,
ridiculous.
crazy goals this first leg.
Hmm. Yeah, Desiree Doué, that was a wild finish. And I think PSG, their front three reflect what should be like Real Madrid's front three. Because these front three, like, yeah, they start off Doué on the right, Dembele through the middle, Vicha on the left, but like they interchange and so free flowing, like throughout the entire game. Like Doué started off on the right, but that goal came from him on the left. Like all three of them can play anywhere really. That front line. Um, whereas Madrid, they're like almost a bit robotic.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like they have very similar profiles, right?
Mhm.
But um, one team is very free flowing, and like you said, they're kind of all over the place. Whereas Real Madrid, they're kind of just staying in their own kind of positions, and it's very rigid.
Mhm. And I'll say one player for PSG that's also made impact. And I'll eat my words for it was Vicha.
Mm.
I know we all knew how talented he was, but like when he had that transfer from Napoli, I was like, is he really gonna change the needle that much? Like yeah, he's talented, but you still got Barcola, who's a huge talent. But I think that transfer, like looking back at it, does make sense. Like he kind of raises the ceiling a bit for this team,
Hmm.
because you never know like what you're gonna get from him. Like whether he's gonna assist, like the way he plays, you just don't know what his next move is. I think he raises the bar for him.
Yeah, Luis Enrique too. He's done a great job. Where you've mentioned that they don't have a huge. They have great players, but they don't have anyone with a huge ego. It's not like they have just Neymar that they like have to feed or Mbappe. These are all like pretty good players, but like he's able to get them all to commit.
Mhm.
And it was cool to see that one clip from last season where he was kind of talking to Mbappe. I don't know if you saw it, where it was just him and Mbappe in a meeting, and he was saying, Mbappe, like we know you have the best, you're one of the most talented in the world, but if you want to be the LeBron James of the team, or if you want to be the best in the world, or Michael Jordan of the team, and be the best of all time, he's like, you have the abilities, but your commitment's not enough, and I need that from you.
I haven't seen that. Wow.
Yeah, I have to send it your way. It was like it was chills because he kind of got rid of him, and he's able to get that out of all his players now. And interestingly enough, like for how good they look, PSG this Champions League quarterfinal, their average age for the team was 24 years and 93 days, which is the youngest of all time. And I just wanted to read some of their players that they have, um, that are like actually contribute to the team. So obviously Nuno Mendes, he's only 22. They got João Neves, who is only 20. They've got Vitinha, who is 25, so a little older, but still fairly young. They got Zaire Emery, who's 19. They have Doué, who's 19. They have Vicha, who's 24. Barcola, who's 22. And then some other guys that come off the bench. Um, they have Gonzalo Ramos, who's only 23. And then another player that's really stood out as a really good signing is their center back, William Pacho, only 23 as well.
Mhm.
Um, but like he's been rock solid for PSG.
Yeah, he looked good. I know when we did our transfer 11 draft, he was
Hmm.
on my short list, but I was thinking like because he came from Frankfurt, so I was like, I don't know if like Bundesliga maybe it's just kind of an easy league, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, he looks solid. And then did you mention that King and Lee already?
Oh yeah, him too. He's pretty young.
He
He's
doesn't
what,
get as much
20?
playing time these days, but I
Yeah.
still like him. He is quality.
Yeah, he's 24 as well. I know Manchester United, you guys were linked to him over the winter window.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. There is one player also on PSG, um, who goes under the radar a bit. Um, and like I don't remember him being this good when he was on loan in the Premier League. Was Vitinha.
Hmm.
He's essential to PSG, I feel like.
Yeah, he definitely gets that. Uh, he's like the metronome of the team. Like he gets them ticking.
He completed this game. He had a 97% passing completion rate. Granted, he does have a lot of like short passes just to get it going, but he can also spray it out. But um, he completed 148 passes out of 152. It's wild.
Oh wow. Yeah, he definitely gets that team going. Almost like the Pedri of that team.
hmm
Uh, but I assume that we both are taking PSG second leg, or that they
Yeah.
would move on. Yeah, I think if it was 2-1 going to Villa Park, it might have been a little more uh interesting, but I think 3-1 might be too much of a mountain to climb for
hmm
Villa.
And it's
Um,
funny because it was at the very end, even the commentator like, uh, because Rashford turned the was it Rashford who turned the ball over in that third goal? And they countered so quick, but PSG they had the ball and the commentators were like, PSG looks like they're comfortable and will settle for this 2-1 win. And then you see Dembele get the ball and they're like, or are they going for the third? And they seal it in
yeah.
stoppage time with the third.
Yeah, and then real quick question before we move on. Uh, let's say they win it all because that's a very likely possibility. Um, do you think this hurts Mbappe's
Yeah,
legacy?
his legacy is tarnished.
You think so?
Yeah,
Even with everything he's done for like France national team.
I think so. Because literally they gave Mbappe the keys to like build the PSG squad to what he wants, like bring in whoever he wants, and yeah. And then the minute they got rid of him, like you see this team's full potential. I
Yeah, I
think
think
it's gonna tarnish it. Like,
yeah, a combination of that and then also he goes to Real Madrid. He's like the face of La Liga now and like he doesn't look
and
great.
he
Like
like literally, we all know the reason he joined Real Madrid. Finally, win the Champions League. Like,
hmm
I think that's pretty much the sole reason.
Yeah, and it's gonna be sad if they don't win La Liga either. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I was trying to think about that. Like, does it really hurt Mbappe's legacy,
I think it
considering all he's done
completely
for France?
tarnishes it. Yeah.
Yeah, it does make him look like, dang, were you the issue?
I think he was big time. That's the one part of Mbappe I've never really liked is always like, yeah, you stepped into the world, announced yourself at like, what was it, 17, 18 at the World
18,
Cup.
yeah.
Even before then at Monaco, but like who do you think you are? Like team, unless you're Ronaldo and Messi, like team's got to be first over you, buddy.
hmm But let's move on to another 18-year-old putting on another clinic for Barca. Um, I think Lamine Yamal, what he's doing at this,
17.
was he seven? Oh, 17. Yeah, that's right. Right. I think what he's doing at this age is much more incredible than what uh, Mbappe was doing. I think his trajectory is even higher. But he got a goal, assisted by Rafinha. Rafinha got the first goal too, which was kind of a tap in. But
Shameless.
that puts
How you gonna steal a youngster's
that puts
goal, bro?
Rafinha. Yeah, that would have been his first goal in the Champions League, right?
Hmm. He was so excited too. I was like, oh, poor
Yeah, but
Cabarsi.
Rafinha now. Yeah, Rafinha now he equalizes Leon Messi's in single Champions League campaign. So, he has 19
We
now,
need
so that
to
just
talk about like I saw a video that Lias, he's one of these podcasters that I'm a huge fan of. I was watching one of his videos and he was saying there needs to be a like an asterisk for like your Champions League tallies like starting this year. Because let's be real, if Messi and Ronaldo played in this format, their goal tally would have been like crazy inflated. Because like the group phase play, like they play like
the
crappy
extra
teams.
games.
Yeah. You
But
know?
I don't know who Barca. I don't know who Barca had in that group, but um, like when Messi set that record, but
Hmm.
they only played two extra games compared to what they would have in the old format.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess the
And
level of
like he's already got.
quality of teams, no, because wasn't it like additional teams that make it?
Yeah, it is additional teams, but I will have to go back to see who Barca played.
Hmm.
Um, I do think they had a easier schedule, but I mean, if you looked at other teams, they had some tougher draws.
Yeah,
It kind of balances out, but I think Barca was the one team that got lucky with some easier opponents.
gotcha.
But it's still, I mean,
Yeah,
incredible
it's still
like the
yeah,
numbers he's
pretty
putting
impressive.
up, and same
Hmm.
with like Lewandowski too, getting another goal.
Yeah, I think Lamine Yamal too. He did like you were saying like crazy game and like yeah he just walks away with a goal, but like a lot of the pre-assists came from his play.
hmm
Like that third goal I think where Fermin Lopez got the assist to Lewandowski. That was a crazy pass by Lamal to set up Lopez.
And then the other one where he crossed it to Rafinha, who headed it to Lewandowski for the goal,
Hmm.
too. That was like. That was just he got Lamine Yamal got past his defender and crossed it. So
Yeah. This is this is one of those like how Dortmund even in this.
yeah, we talked about it last week, right? That like this one
Hmm.
was a head scratcher that Dortmund are in. Yeah, Dortmund they had a couple of chances, but they also were very wasteful, especially Grassy. He had one. Uh, they just kind of wasted chances, and you just can't do that against this Barca team.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't have much takeaway from this game, honestly. I thought it was quite one-sided. Um, I guess the one question I have for you is who do you think's been the best left back this Champions League, Mendes or Balde?
I would go with Mendes because of the opponents he's had to go against. Um, I mean, they've played Madrid, City, and then Liverpool twice, shutting down Salah.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. But Balde's had having a really good campaign too. But I would go with Mendes.
It'll be interesting to see how Barca. Um, I think they got lucky with their draw against Dortmund, but I think any other team they had gotten drawn with, I think their high line is still going to be something to be suspicious of.
Yeah, I think so too.
It was just unfortunate Dortmund weren't able to exploit it.
Mm-mm.
The and talk about the Palace City game first game of the weekend. Um, Palace went up 2-0, and it looked like it was going to be something. Another embarrassing loss for City, but they ultimately came back to win it at 5-2. I guess what were some of your takeaways or maybe players that stuck out to you?
I think Alice, I don't know what happened to them. They first 30 minutes they looked really good. Once they conceded that free kick goal to De Bruyne, everything just fell off. Like they just moved away from what they were doing so well the entire game, and let City really take control of the game after De Bruyne got that free kick. Like just momentum just completely changed. Um, it was really funny. Pep was kind of going at it with his own fans, like cupping his ears, and this manager, man, he's been doing some crazy actions I've never seen him do like in the past, like just fully rattled this year. But yeah, City just completely dominant, especially that second half.
Yeah, to your point, I was really surprised that Palace collapsed like that. Um, because they were looking dominant, and even Eze almost made it. He made it 3-0, and he was like barely offsides, marginally, but it was cool to see the new VAR technology too finally being implemented in the Premier League.
Yes.
Thank God, like speeds up the process. But um, yeah, it was just shocking that how they collapsed, especially like how good Palace has been. I think this is looking back at this year. So I looked at their first 20 games this year, and so Glasner was, I think we did our Premier League like manager of the season, and we said exclude Pep, which is funny because Pep was not even in the race this year. But like, uh, I picked Glasner, and I was kind of worried because it was a really slow start. In their first 20 games, they only collected 14 points. And before 2025, they played 22 games in the league and only had 20 points. But they really turned it around after 2025, and they've picked up 23 points in 9 games. So, I mean, they're one of the hottest teams, and they've looked like they can really beat anyone in the league. So,
Mhm.
I was surprised that they kind of collapsed. And also, I mean, being up 2-0, like, away from home, they've been the best in conceding 12 goals. So it was quite shocking. But again, I think
Yeah,
it's just a one-off.
I think so too. Um, I will say that Ederson assist though, that was beauty. Shout out goalkeeper there. Best ball playing
Mm.
keeper in the league.
That's his fourth assist of the Premier League record.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, even for all of City's mishaps and just like poor form here, it is crazy to think that they're in contention for top three um, within the Premier League, and like they're kind of catching up to Nottingham.
Yeah, that is true. I'm still not fully sold on Nottingham, I'll be honest. And that'll be a
Hmm.
game we'll touch on, but yeah, City, I think for all their to your point mishaps, they're still in contention. I think Marmoush, he's been like crazy impact. The runs he makes, he constantly makes runs, and it's a little frustrating because he makes crazy good runs, but like he's not found often. So one game, not one game, it's been a pattern this season, but Gundogan, he was non-existent. He gets an assist, but I mean, throughout majority of the game, he was pretty non-existent. Um, and I think also Palace, they were. I don't know where Margay was, but I think losing him was a big loss. Just having to play with a makeshift center back in Jefferson Lerma, it's not ideal.
Hmm. Yeah, that definitely bit them in the butt this game.
Hmm.
Um, and it was interesting to see that Palace, like, I didn't realize how good they are from set pieces. I know Chris Richards got that goal from the corner, but Um, I assumed that Arsenal were the best, like scoring the most from set pieces, but it's actually been Palace that have scored the most from set pieces with 14 goals.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. And sorry, one last takeaway from Palace is one player who's I think kind of been disappointing is Tyreek Mitchell. Like I want to like him, but I think defensively he is quite solid, but going forward, I just haven't seen him make improvements to take him to the next step to solidify himself into the England squad. Um, and I think he just hasn't like when he stepped onto the scene, I think everyone thought he had a lot of potential, but I just don't think he's done enough to grow into like being a solidified England international.
Yeah, he's definitely got like the legs for like that role. Defending, like you said, is solid, but like he gets in the right positions too, but it's his decision making and like his cross is just
It's never
poor.
can't even beat the first man, like
Yeah.
more often than not.
He makes the right runs. It's
Hmm.
just, yeah, his ball playing. And then, yeah, to your point, let's move on to that Nottingham game. I mean, you're not sold on them fully. I'm, people had, I was looking at the betting markets and people were expecting Nottingham or a tie or Nottingham to win. Everton were underdogs, but I really thought going into this that they were going to struggle against a team like Everton where it just doesn't suit Nottingham.
Yeah, there's a like least pressing team. Like they sit back the most out of any team in the Premier League. And I think that just yeah, it'll work versus a few teams that are like love playing high on the attack. But to your point against like teams like Everton, that style just not gonna work. I don't think they have any other style of playing, um, which I can respect, like sticking to your game plan and stuff. But at the same time, just sitting back the entire game, like it's just not enjoyable to watch. As well as like I just don't think it's sustainable.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like
Everton.
I think this is a bit of a fluke of a year for them. I don't think they'll be close to top four next year.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Um, There's been a few games that they've gotten lucky too, uh, but Everton were just all over them. Should have been more than 1-0. Njai created a lot of good chances. Jack Harrison, texting Tommy, who's an Everton fan, but like uh, even he agreed. Like Jack Harrison's always in the right spot, but like his finishing is so poor. He should have had a goal or two. Uh, but it is kind of worrying for Nottingham. Like it's assumed that they're easily going to make Champions League this year, but it's getting kind of tight up there.
Yeah, I don't think it's a guarantee. And I think they have a tough run of games, I want to say. They got Tottenham next, then they got City, then Brentford, then Palace, then Leicester, which is a give me, then West Ham, and then you guys last day.
And we're right behind them.
That's a tough run of games.
Yeah, I don't know, especially with like City grabbing their win. Villa, that loss to Villa last week was huge for
Mhm.
them. And then just like now Newcastle, like Newcastle's been good. I think they're going to be the team that finishes top three this
They
year.
still have a game in hand versus
Hmm.
everyone, so yeah, that was a big loss. I think it was one of those where to Forest fans at least they thought Everton from this tough run of games that was going to be one of the give me type um to kind of solidify themselves more. But yeah, that's a big loss. And conceding in the manner they did, uh,
Hmm.
that's a bit unfortunate. I like Merlot. I think he's a solid defender, but he is a little awkward at times. Like on the like, yeah, his crosses and long balls and shots are crazy, but like he's not the most orthodox of players at times.
Yeah,
That was one of the cases right there.
he just kind of got stuck to his feet.
Yeah.
But let's move on to Sunday. We'll wrap some of these games up quickly.
Yeah, I didn't want to touch. I thought I was excited at first for Arsenal and Brentford, but I was like, looking at, I was like, Arteta is gonna go with stinky 11 to save it for the Madrid game. So
Yeah, it wasn't too entertaining. I think the tie was even or fair result, but wasn't too exciting. But wanted to touch on just quickly both our teams from this weekend, and we'll kind of end it there. We'll start with Chelsea Ipswich from this morning. We went down 2-0. I thought we were gonna lose, especially we've had trouble breaking down some of the lower level teams, and they all play low blocks. So I was pretty worried that we were gonna lose, especially going down 2-0. But um, yeah, shout out to Sancho, absolute banger to score that first one. Still trash though, but um, yeah, that was a good goal. Uh, and then yeah, shout out to the Ipswich keeper because yeah, he made some crazy saves.
yeah, Palmer man of the match. I'm not talking about Cole. He's making crazy saves. Yeah, that one save on Chalobah. I thought that was a bad miss by Chalobah, but then the replay is crazy save, and then he had the save on Cole Palmer too, like fully stretched. It was
And then the
wild.
Enzo Fernandez too.
Oh yeah, that was him. Jeez. Yeah, he was going off. Um, I thought Chelsea deserved to win though, because
Hmm.
definitely any other if the keeper didn't make those type of saves, like it would have been a easy win. Um, but it was a little I think worrying how Ipswich's goals were quite easy. Um, like the hold up play from George Hurst, I thought when you have center backs in the stature of Colwell and Tosin, big strong guys, like they made it a little too easy.
Yeah, Tosin definitely had a poor game. He just was kind of out of place at
Mhm.
times. And I was confused why Gusto and Reece James were benched today. That second goal, I think proper right back would have probably prevented it, but
Hmm.
uh, I'm
Did
kind
you
of
see
getting.
sorry, just real quick too. You see when Delap skinned Chalaba? That was wild.
Oh yeah. And the lap too. I've been seeing rumors that you guys are linked to him pretty strong.
Yeah, apparently we're trying to make a move for him and Cunha, so because
Ooh, that would be huge.
apparently I don't know how, but Liam Delap, his release clause is like 40 mil.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's not too bad considering he's like one of the hottest prospects in the league.
hmm.
But yeah, I just wanted to touch on just kind of Maresca. I think he started off the season super hot, but I feel like we've fallen off our form a bit. Um, and it's frustrating that like he doesn't really get the same treatment that Pochettino got. I thought we were when we finished with Pochettino, we improved. We were like improving. With Maresca, I feel like we've been kind of going the opposite way. Um, and it's just kind of worrying, especially like what he did at Leicester City, where he had a 30-point gap in that league, and he almost bottled the automatic promotion. Um, they just took loss after loss in the championship. So it kind of feels like that. Like we haven't been able to get any results with him. Um, and it's just kind of frustrating. Like he doesn't really make some changes that like that I'm seeing, and so I assume a lot of it's just not me. It's a lot of Chelsea fans I assume are seeing the same. Where Cole Palmer also has fallen off in form this year slightly, and it's because he's playing that number 10 role, and he's getting double teamed, and it's easy to kind of box him in. Whereas I mean, clear today, Madueke was getting the most touches in the game, and it should be Cole Palmer getting the most touches. Like he's our best player, so why not move him to the right, have someone else play the 10? But I feel like just things like that is kind of tactical things you should recognize as a coach that I think Maresca's failed to do.
To be fair though, I thought Madueke had a pretty good game. I thought he was making more impact than Pedro Neto.
Hmm.
I thought that was the wrong sub because I thought Madueke, if anyone was gonna start the comeback for you guys, because I thought he was looking a lot more influential. But to your point, it is funny when you're mentioning Maresca because Chelsea obviously started the season off really hot, especially 2024. Um, it's really ever since the loss to Ipswich in the reverse fixture, like end of December, where they've fallen off.
Hmm.
Only 5 wins out of 13 in the league. Um,
So maybe after this game with Ipswich, it changes our form
changes
back.
back, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I just also just think we need to get rid of some players, and in particular, Sancho, who scored today. Just need to let him go. Um, Nkunku as well. Uh, I know we have a quite a big squad, but it's also not like a great squad, if
It's
that
a
makes
lot of
sense.
banking on potential.
Exactly, like for the future.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a perfect way of saying it. But yeah, I saw this funny tweet the other day of Sancho. You remember when Peter Drury, when CR7 made his comeback to United, like
Yeah.
the chills,
Uh-huh.
like that poetic, like kind of announcement he had.
Hmm.
He said, someone said they're gonna do the same with Sancho. So he said, Manchester, Dortmund, Manchester again, Dortmund again, London, and Manchester once again. Jadon Sancho.
I'm dead. Yeah, I wonder where he's gonna end up because clearly, if like, I don't think you guys want to keep him, and we don't either. So it's playing hot potato with between the two of us and Dortmund, I guess.
Yeah. It's funny that like Timo Werner got a lot of slack from us, but I think any Chelsea fan would tell you that like we'd probably want him back over Nkunku or
Yeah, Timo
Sancho.
Werner, he was a funny one because I don't think he was that bad. It was really just the finishing was
Hmm.
awful. But in terms of work rate, always had crazy work rate. Getting
Oh
into
yeah.
create like always getting to the right positions. Just that final finish was terrible.
Yeah. I mean, he led us to the Champions League. Like
Hmm.
he had a huge contribution to that.
Yeah.
And you never questioned his commitment. So
Hmm.
it's just kind of icon or ironic that he got a lot of stick, but some of these other players, because they're, I guess, big names, what they've done in the past, they
Yeah.
don't get the same treatment.
Hmm.
But would you see this season as a failure for us if we don't qualify for Champions League? Considering
Yeah, yeah,
before the season though, you had us outside Champions League, and a lot of people had us outside Champions League spots.
yeah. I think I had you guys 7.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people had us like 7, 8.
Yeah, I think it's a failure just because it. If you guys were in Europa League and we're outside, then I'd say like not much of a failure. But I feel like since it is Conference League, like you could really put all your eggs in then one basket and focus on the Premier League. So like I don't know, it's a hard one too because I feel like I think it's because we saw the potential you guys did have at the start of the year
Hmm.
with Maresca. So I think that's what makes it like, yeah, you guys got this potential, and then just seeing the fall off being so bad, I think that will be a major failure. Not getting, I say, not getting a top 6, yeah, would be a failure.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the
I think if you
point.
guys started off bad versus with Maresca, like, and finished off bad, then it's like not too much to harp on. But since you guys did start off so well, like even some people were like, "Oh, are y'all like title bound?" Like to now being outside top 6, I think that's a failure of a year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's because we saw what we could be.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, 2-2. I'm glad we at least got a point from it. It's a pretty close Champions League race, so any point is needed.
I will say you guys do have a bit of a tough bit of matchups in the league coming up though. Very tough actually looking at it now.
Yeah. It's gonna be a close race. Um, but Newcastle's right in that mix. So let's jump into that Newcastle United game today.
Big headlines coming in as always for United games.
Yep. I think the biggest one, Jason Tyndall managing Newcastle. I
Where
think he
was
was
it?
he was
Eddie Howe
ready
was
for this.
sick, right?
Yeah,
Or
he was
okay.
sick. But He's been praying for this moment.
Yeah. Pray for time like this.
It's his time to shine.
For real. He yeah, he has crazy main character syndrome, him and that set piece coach. But other big headline, Bayender getting his Premier League. Crazy. I don't like I felt like he's played in the Premier League before, but I guess not. His Premier League debut. Um, just to catch listeners up, midweek we had a Europa League matchup versus Lyon. Before the match, Onana basically said, I think we're the better team, got more trophies historically and stuff. We're the better team than Lyon. And then the reporter asked former United player in Matic what he thought of Onana's comments, and he was a bit shocked. He's like, Onana, the worst, statistically the worst United keeper in history. So going into the Lyon game, we're like, all right, Onana, just don't make any mistakes. Like giving up goal, whatever, that's fine, but don't make any howlers. Ends up making 2 howlers, which cost us a win. And so coming into this game, he was left out of the squad. Amarim, I mean, I guess he doesn't want to put blame on the player, but just said it's for rest. Um, so it gives Bayender the debut. I think Bayender had an okay game apart from the one where he gifted Bruno Guimaraes the goal.
Mhm.
Um, but overall, this game, second half, 75th minute, um, it was a snooze fest.
Yeah, I woke up, or I think I fell asleep 80th minute and woke up and some commercials were playing. I was like, wow, the game's over. It was the first 70 like 5 minutes, like to your point, was actually really entertaining.
Hmm.
And especially that first half, like Newcastle, there was a 10, 15-minute stretch where after they scored, they were just like, you're just waiting for a second, but you guys got the counter, and it just felt like, man, is this a day that you guys could pull a win out of nowhere? Because even that Garnacho finish was pretty tidy with his left foot.
Yeah, the first up to Newcastle's goal, that first 30 minutes, it felt like we were getting suffocated. Um,
Hmm.
First 45 seconds they get a goal, but called back for offsides. But like um, every time we were on the ball, it just felt like we were getting like swarm of bees just coming after us. So I think playing off the counter was like our only chance, which we took advantage of with Garnacho. I think one player I thought he had a good game was Ugarte. I
Hmm.
thought defensively he was winning a lot of tackles. I think we had a few players where we just played them because we wanted to save some legs for the Europa League game, like Harry Moss getting his Premier League debut. I do not want to see Ericsson playing again for us, man. He's a tough watch.
Hmm.
I think if we had Ericsson in his 20s, be a perfect fit, but Ericsson at this age, kind of long done. Um,
It looks like he just seems like one of those players that's like he's so nice and you feel bad for like benching him, so you're like, "Oh, here's a game time for
yeah,
you. Like
exactly.
you deserve it. You're a nice guy." But it's like,
And we're doing more
oh,
harm than good to him, like throwing him under the fire versus like a Newcastle midfield,
yeah.
um, and then Xerxes, I thought he had a pretty good game, honestly.
Okay, that was another player that I was like, "Oh, he deserves a shout."
hmm I thought Xerxes had a good game, even in the midweek in the Europa League. I don't know if you were able to catch our highlights. Hoyland had a clear chance,
Hmm.
but the shot he had, you could tell that's a striker lacking any confidence. So that's troubling because Xerxes made impact coming off the bench midweek. He looked really good this game, linking up with Bruno. Could have had that beautiful goal.
Oh, dude, touch and spin was
Yeah. Xerxes,
disgusting.
like some of the plays he makes, it just brings a smile. Like he's one of those where it's like play,
Berbatov-esque.
yeah, Berbatov-esque at times.
But it does show like he's not a proper striker. That
hmm
play was uh perfectly summarized. Like he loves to have fun, make it look beautiful. Like link up was great, but like the shot, like a true striker would have buried that just on the ground, and he just kind of hit it almost like right there, or like a pretty easy save for the keeper.
Yeah, exactly.
And on the
Um,
flip side, like right after that one was Isak, similar where like the build up between him and Tonali, and that was
mhm.
a ridiculous pass and a great finish too.
Yeah, the amount of weight he put on that pass was wild. Perfect.
I do have to blame Lindelof for that though, for not closing down, especially Isak. And then I don't know if you remember, like 5 minutes later, Tonali had like almost a banger from outside the box, and like nobody was like
Yeah, no one closed him
Lindelof
down.
was just like sitting. I was like, "Yo, is someone gonna close him down?"
Yeah, yeah, that's bad looks by Lindelof. Um, and also I think defensively, one player who's he had his welcoming to the Premier League moment, and ever since that game, I saw a stat. You remember when Southampton versus us, when that Salamena guy was giving Lenny Euro a tough day?
Hmm.
Ever since that game, I saw a stat. Lenny Euro hasn't been dribbled past, and I think
Hmm.
he's been pretty solid defensively. Um, it's nice to see Luke Shaw back, having another ball playing center back. Uh,
That man lost some weight.
yeah, he's always been on the thicker side, but yeah, I think second half is pretty one-sided. Newcastle dominated. It's one of those games Bruno Fernandes couldn't really influence it much. And when Bruno Fernandes can't influence the game, that's when you know it's wraps.
But to your point, I think you summarized it perfectly. Is the reason Bruno Fernandes couldn't do anything is because of Newcastle and like how well they press together, and like their midfield, they have the legs to do it. Like from Isak all the way to Joe Linton, Bruno, and Tonali, even like they were just pressing him.
Yeah. Dallo and Mazarawi though, oof, tough
Stinkers.
days.
Livermento was cooking them,
Oh
him and
yeah,
Barnes.
I was gonna say that Livermento pre-assist to Murphy. Dallo, you cannot be getting beat like that. That was like watching a attacker defend, like skipped away so easily.
Yeah, I found my favorite I forget who the commentator was today. Um do you remember who it was? But it absolutely killed me. Um who was it
Was it
today?
Graham Lasso? No, it wasn't Graham Lasso.
I forget, but anyways, like the commentator killed me today with maybe the greatest alliteration of all time of dilly dallying Dallo. That sent me because like it was perfect because Dallo at times was just like him and Mazarawi did it a couple times and led to the goal when Mazarawi
Yeah, I don't know
was
what Maserati was doing
mis
there.
but like dilly dally Dallo, oh my God, I absolutely died.
Oh man, these commentators are clever. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, but I don't think I've been frustrated with Onana. I know you've said he's not a position we should prioritize, but I don't
Hmm.
know. I think number one priority is striker, but I think we got to look at a goalkeeper as well, alternative. Um, there's a Man United fan account I saw where he described it perfectly. Like Man United were like a shit sandwich. Like you got some good pieces in the middle, but then the bread, like when you burn it, like two crappy breads, like at the very end, like you got Hoyland one end, Onana on the other end, like
Mm.
got some pieces here and there, but like the main glue to it is like so bad it ruins the whole sandwich. Like one player I wish we didn't let go of, Dean Henderson. Like even his ball
Ooh.
playing ability, I don't think it's like I was watching him versus City. He had some good like passes out the back, long balls. Like I think he's
Hmm.
been pretty solid this year. Even I was saying I know I've always told you I wish Everton get relegated so we could get Jordan Pickford. Um, like Onana, man, he saved us a
Do,
few times, but he's
mhm.
had blunders.
Do you think he starts against Lyon this midweek? Or do you think he gets
Yeah,
another quote unquote rest?
I think he might get the start.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's done for. I think Amarin's gonna move on from him.
We'll
No
see
goalkeeper
though.
needs
Yeah,
rest.
yeah, that is true. But
Yeah, moving on to maybe just wrap it up with some games to watch for this week. Of
Champions League
course,
back? Yeah.
yeah, Tuesday we have Villa PSG in Villa Park. And then we got Dortmund, Bayern. Um,
Sorry, real quick
that,
before you hit on Champions League. Tomorrow also, to wrap up Premier League is Bournemouth Fulham.
that's right. Yep. Uh, and then Wednesday we have the Premier League game making up the Newcastle Palace game. Uh, and then Champions League again. We have Inter and Bayern, and then we have Madrid, Arsenal.
Ooh, Wednesday's the spicy Champions League matchups.
Yep. And then Thursday we have Europa League. We also have Conference League. Uh, y'all play Lyon at Old Trafford. It's 2-2 from the first leg. Tottenham play Frankfurt. Uh, it's 1-1. Athletic Bilbao play Rangers. And Lazio, they went down 2-0 in the first leg to some Norwegian team that I've never even heard of.
Bodo Glint.
Yeah,
We almost lost to them in the like group phase.
group. And then yeah, over the weekend, probably some games to look out for on Saturday in the Premier League would be Villa Newcastle. That's going to be crucial for that top five spot. And then uh, I think that's really the biggest one kind of keep an eye on in terms of position importance. And then we have Chelsea, Fulham. We're still fighting for that top five spot.
That'll be a big one.
Yep. And then Monday, Nottingham plays Spurs. Um, so big one for Nottingham.
And then around the league, Saturday, interesting matchup for Ligue 1. We got Monaco versus Strasbourg. Monaco this weekend completely annihilated Marseille 3-0. Um,
Yeah, and
and
even
then,
that's pretty tight spot there for top three Champions League battle for Liga.
oh yeah,
Strasbourg is right behind Monaco. They're at 50 points. Lille's at 50. Marseille's at 52, and Monaco's at 53.
that's a tight race.
Hmm.
And then I'd say Sunday is around the league. Big one is AC Milan versus Atalanta.
Ooh,
I don't see any La Liga games um Saturday or Sunday. Interesting.
I'm not sure what's happening there. Um, and then also just wanted to give a quick shout out to, we didn't touch on the Liverpool game, but shout out to Salah. He set the record for most goals and assists uh, in a 38 game season already, um, at 45. So he just needs two more to break Alan Shearer's, or I guess three more to break Alan Shearer's record of 47. And then he needs two more assists to tie Thierry Henry's assist record of 20. I guess Henry and De Bruyne, right? Both of them
Hmm.
have 20. So,
Oh, that's doable. Got
hmm
that. Got that in the
But six
bag.
six games left?
Yeah. His assist today was ridiculous. That was, but it's like he makes it look so easy and casual because he has one of those like once a game he pulls it off, but today it was like on a platter.
Hmm.
Um, and it's funny because I saw Fabrizio tweeting him and Van Dyke contract extensions are very soon. Um, so it's just a coincidence that they both contributed today. Salah with the assist and Van Dyke with the winner.
Ooh, that would be huge if they're able to keep both those guys.
Yeah. A I don't know, Salah, yeah, he's what is he, 30? He'll be like 33. Still crucial, but I think if you keep Salah though, you're like you could get a lot of money out of him,
Hmm.
and I feel like you're kind of holding back like a few players from developing.
I guess if Salah wasn't starting, who would take his spot?
Like Harvey Elliott or Chiesa.
Mm.
I know they're nowhere
But
near the
they're
level,
different.
but
Yeah. But I feel like that's the difference between like us, like, our thing is like we're building for the future and we've been saying that for years, whereas like Liverpool, when you have the best player, why not take
Mhm.
advantage of it to win it now?
Yeah, that's true. So you think I know you're a big fan of this YouTube channel, Daily Dose.
Hmm.
Soccer fans, you guys got to follow this YouTube channel. Comes up with like crazy videos on players and stuff. He had one video on Salah, breaking down like basically saying like how he thinks Salah should have won the Ballon d'Or by now already, like previous years, and how Ballon d'Or winners really in the past never really won the Champions League, but they were like the best players. Whereas because Ronaldo and Messi like ultimately would win the Champions League and play out their minds, like they started putting a lot more weights on tournaments.
Mm.
You think Salah like I think he's still the best player in the world, but like this year. So you do you still think You still think the player that ends up winning the Champions League though gets the Ballon d'Or? And you think
Uh,
they should be deserving? Like if Barca win the Champions League, you think Rafinha deserves Ballon d'Or?
uh, I don't necessarily think like if it's a player that wins the Champions League per se, but if they get far in the Champions League, I do think that takes adds a different element and some more weight, considering how poor Salah had performed in the Champions League. Even in group stages,
Hmm.
he only had a few goal contributions, and he was non-existent against PSG. And I do think you should have to put some weighting on the Champions League tournament. I know in the past that wasn't necessarily the case, but I do think it's important because, I mean, it is a tournament where you bring the best teams across Europe into the same tournament. So you kind of look at them in an even playing field, whereas in the league, the various leagues are at varying levels of competition, so it's slightly harder to compare. So yeah, Salah's had a amazing Premier League campaign. But I do think it hurts that he was also poor in the Champions League.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's gonna be a hard one. That's gonna be a hard one for him to swallow if he doesn't win the Ballon d'Or again.
Yeah, I think because you can make a case for Salah, but you can also make if Barca go far, make a case for Rafinha. Oh, it's a
Mhm.
little hard with Barca because Rafinha's the GA guy, but like I really think Pedri and Lamine Yamal are the more important players on that team.
I think so too. Yeah, that's gonna be a tricky one.
And then like PSG, Dembele, he's been eating, but like that team in general is really good. But
Hmm.
like, you know, do you stand out? Does Dembele really stand out of the pack as like the best player in the world? I'm not sure. So you can,
Hmm.
I feel like you can make an argument for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, it's a lot of cases, but
But has Salah won the Ballon d'Or?
no, he's never won it. But he's always finished. Past
Oh,
few years, always been finishing top five. So just watching that YouTube video was like brought me into questioning because I was like, that is true. Before Ronaldo and Messi, apparently like yeah, before Ronaldo and Messi, like the winners of the Ballon d'Ors, they hadn't won Champions Leagues. Um, but they were just like undoubtedly just like the best player in their respective league.
yeah. I do get a little annoyed when they bring in World Cup considerations though. Like that I think is a little more unfair.
Yeah, because it's hard for a team like Egypt to kind of really go far,
Exactly.
even
Yeah.
qualify. So, um, yeah, so Ballon d'Or still ways to go, but we'll see what happens with that. Um, but as always, thank you for listening to another episode. Um, next next week we'll do a roundup of Champions League as well as the Premier League. But until then, peace out.
Peace.